first of all, thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. Today we're going to be talking about Lenderwize. First of all, just to introduce myself. So my name is Chris Wheatcroft. I have a background in finance, raising finance for early stage companies. Previously, I was at a company called Angel's Den, and now I'm with Ascension Ventures. I also am helping Lenderwize with their current fundraise, which is both for equity and debt. And I'm pleased to welcome this afternoon Lawrence Giglioli, who is the founder of Lenderwize, but also Mike Ashwork and Montello Silvestri. So that's probably enough about me. Why don't I just quickly pass over to Montello and to Mike to introduce themselves, and then we'll get into the questions. I mean, before I do that, what I'd like to say is that it's going to be a pretty interactive session this afternoon. I've got a number of questions which I'm going to ask the panelists, but if the audience has questions that they want to, please feel free to kind of put them in at any point, and we'll answer those as we go along. We'll also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end. But yes, let's crack on. Montello, do you want to introduce yourself and give us a bit of background about you?
Yeah, sure. Good afternoon, everyone. Montello Silvestri. My background is in payment. I've been working for companies like Royal Bank of Scotland, WorldPay, MasterCard, Western Union. So I have a strong background in payments and processing. And lately, I'm now working on a CX tech platform that really focuses on customer journey proposition. So lots of payment and a bit of fintech as well.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And Mike, do you want to give us a quick intro?
Thanks,
about
Chris.
you?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Mike Ashworth. My background is payments, nearly 20 years, held senior roles at First Data, WorldPay, and also sat on the board of Visa UK. And the last few years been active in the angel investment. I've built up a small portfolio of investments and happy to be here.
Excellent. Perfect. Well, listen, thank you both. Thank you both for being here. So let's kick off just with Lawrence. If you want to introduce yourself and then tell us what Lenderwize is, and then we'll kind of go into a few other questions from there. So tell us a bit about Lenderwize.
Sure. Well, first I want to say that I'm very proud to have both Marcello and Mike online with us right now, because actually they are both early stage investors in Lenderwize. So they are, I consider, testimonials to what we're doing. And they're in very good company. We have a great group of investors, both providing equity and providing debt capital to Lenderwize. So what is Lenderwize? Lenderwize is a very unique platform. It's the first of a kind. It's essentially a fintech platform for telecom operators. Fintech, since we're at an event talking about fintech, of course, involves financial technologies. In our case, we have financial technologies applied to telecom wholesale, which is actually what we're experts in. So we've invented the first lending platform for telecom wholesale operators, for transit carriers, a specific niche market that we are experts in, which is underserved by the traditional banks. So we've invented a platform which allows our lenders to earn significant returns with a very low risk, because we can credit insure the actual invoices that are on our platform. And we are serving a market which is in dire need of working capital, because there are companies which sell to Vodafone, to British Telecom, to China Mobile, to the tier 1 mobile operators, and which have a cash flow gap, suffer a cash flow gap, and need working capital because their suppliers need to be paid on a weekly or daily basis. Their clients pay them on 60 days. So in the course of this session, I will get into the details and explain what telecom wholesale is as an introductory, let me just reinforce the concept that we are a very novel fintech platform for the telecom industry, which is a very large industry with $64 billion a year in need of working capital. And that's the niche, if I can call it niche, market that we are addressing and solving. And that's what Lenderwize is in a nutshell.
And do you want to tell us a little bit about you and your background and where the idea for Lenderwize came from?
Sure. Well, I am a US and Italian citizen, a dual citizen. I live in London. Our company is in London. I'm very excited to be in London because it's the heart of business opportunities in Europe, as far as I'm concerned. And it has some very clear rules and regulations. The FCA is very smart, and we appreciate that because we want to follow rules very carefully, and you have to have clear rules to be able to follow them. So my background, I have a master's in telecommunications. I was a country manager for Dun & Bradstreet, so I come from the credit reporting world. I was a country manager for a Swedish multinational telecom operator also. Our other partners come from the telecom wholesale industry. Augusto Pellegrini was the head of global wholesale for Swisscom. He managed over $675 million a year in receivables and invoices, specifically in this market, this niche market that we're talking about. How did I invent, I'm one of the founders, how did I invent Lenderwize? I invented it because in my entrepreneurial experience, I have 25 years of experience after being country manager, as I mentioned. I invented the first franchising network of call centers about 20 years ago, winning prizes on a European level, with call centers in Holland, in Romania, in Albania, and in Italy, with a very novel model. And the biggest cost call centers after the personnel, after the telephone operators, are phone calls. So we created our first telecom wholesaler to help our franchisees save on telecom costs. And so we discovered what it means to be a telecom wholesaler. A telecom wholesaler is a company which connects to the big operators and which buys on a wholesale basis phone minutes. And it connects in between big operators and smaller operators. And we used this for quite a few years in our franchise network successfully. And then we figured out and realized that there's a problem in the telecom wholesale industry, which is that of working capital cash flow. These telecom operators, and we're talking about 3,000 operators in the world doing telecom wholesale, are in between the tier ones, the Vodafones and the British Telecoms, and smaller operators, and they act as transit operators. And they exist, and they will always exist, because BT, for example, or Vodafone, for example, does not have all the lines in the world, nor could it for antitrust reasons. BT will always have to be connected to other operators so that they can guarantee to you, if you are using as an end user, if you are using BT or Vodafone, they have to guarantee the ability, they have to make sure that you can call anywhere in the world. So BT and Vodafone has to be connected necessarily to a transit operator, which in turn needs to be connected, since they don't have all the lines in the world also, to a termination operator that completes that phone call. So if you are in London calling someone in Brazil and you're using British Telecom, it's transparent to you. You make your phone call, but BT is connected to a transit operator, and that transit operator is connected to a termination operator. So it goes through at least 2 or 3 or maybe 5 or 6 steps of operators in between. And between them, it's all business to business, telecom operator to telecom operator. They're all buying and selling the transit of that phone call with invoices. So, and each one of these has a cash flow gap. And so we are filling in, solving the problem of the cash flow gap. And we came across this opportunity by being a telecom wholesale operator, once again, saving money for our franchisees in the call center world. And we figured out, since we have a technical background and we are quite creative, we figured out that by putting together financial technologies and creativity and payment processors and telecom switches and telecom expertise that we could invent the first lending platform which solves this problem. And it's thanks to our know-how, multifaceted know-how, which includes international law. One of our partners is an international lawyer, Jeff McEachie, and thanks to him, we have come up with the legal infrastructures to provide our services globally. So we have global investors right now. We have global clients. We have global suppliers. We have a global team, actually, which spans all the way from Silicon Valley to Melbourne. The majority are in Europe, but our team is distributed. And by the way, and I'm talking because I know we have some time here, but I know there's a lot of questions. We are booming right now. COVID has been a disaster for the majority. It's a terrible situation, but COVID obviously has increased the number of phone calls globally. So there's an actual surge in phone calls. There's a surge in funding needs of our clients, and we are absolutely booming right now because in the end, we are talking about phone calls, which are a human necessity. And so even in moments of COVID, anything tied to human necessity has been growing. Essentially, that's how we came across the idea.
Perfect.
Sorry, Chris.
No, that was a long answer, but I think a necessary one. I think it's important to kind of give the background of what actual telecom wholesale means, because it's not clear. It wasn't clear to me until we met years ago. And I guess a quick question. People are going to ask, why aren't the banks doing this?
I'm afraid your voice is breaking up.
Oh, sorry. I was saying, why aren't the banks and traditional lenders doing this?
Banks and traditional lenders are experts in real estate, in tangible assets, in physical assets. We are talking about a digital asset. We are talking about phone calls, which are all digital today. They're all digitized. And therefore, unless you have the technologies that we have, the fintech technologies connected to switches, unless you have that ability, know-how, and infrastructure, technical infrastructure, it appears untangible to banks. So banks now understand what we're doing, and we are working with institutional lenders now. We're working with funds with 1.5 billion under management. We're working with factoring partners, with invoice discounters, and alternative lenders. Banks are starting to understand this now because we have a significant loan book made up of invoices. They understand the invoice. They don't yet understand what comprises that invoice, but they can see it with our technology. So we are sharing and giving access and giving total transparency to what we're doing to banks. And why are we talking at this FinTech conference? Because there are banks, there are VCs, there are institutional lenders which are open now, have open eyes on the whole FinTech sector. And so we will be very glad to I hope you reach out to us. And I hope that we can give you demos and show you the physical assets, the digital assets, which we consider so tangible because we can see those digital assets. We can see the phone calls. We can measure the quality of those phone calls. We can see where that digital asset is, if it's delivered, and if it's paid for. So I love making the comparison to anyone funding trade finance or supply chain finance. And I love asking the question, if you are funding a shipment of containers from China to Brazil or to South Africa, do you know where the container is in real time? Do you know what's inside the container in real time? Do you know the quality of the products inside the container in real time? Do you know if it's delivered? Do you know if it's paid for? And the majority of people say no. Although I do have one expert, supply chain finance, we pretty much know. But the majority say no. And we can say yes to all of that because our technology allows us to view the phone calls, to measure the quality of the phone call, to know at which stage it's at in the supply chain, to know if it's delivered, and to know if it's paid for. And that's why we love.
And you've broken that down. Sorry, and you've broken that down to the call level, or is that on a daily invoice
today
level?
it's down to the daily invoice. So all the phone calls that goes through our network today are invoiced at midnight and 1 minute, and they're automatically uploaded with the proof of service. So with the phone calls and files, and they're uploaded and shared with our investors that pre-approve the clients to work with, that pre-approve the credit insurance. We insure these invoices. So we work within pre-approved credit limits with our investors, pre-approved insurance coverage on these invoices, and we automate all of this so that we make sure that we cannot surpass the credit limits or insured limits.
Okay, great. And so, sorry, just to be clear, that the platform is now live. What's the status of?
Absolutely, we are very live, and we can show this to our investors and give demos, show the calls, we have over 1,000 invoices already through our platform with 0 bad debt, which I'm proud to say. So it's very live, and it's growing very, very quickly. We essentially are growing by 30 to 50% month over month in this phase. And we expect to continue to grow because we have over $96 million worth of written requests from clients. So we have great traction with our clients, great traction with our institutional investors, and a fully working platform, which we share once again with our investors. We can give customized access and dashboards based on the needs. We can feed directly into the systems of our factoring partners, our invoice discounting partners, our alternative lenders. We can feed directly into their platforms with total transparency.
Okay, great. And I just want to talk about the kind of vision for the future of Lenderwize. And I'm also going to bring in Montello and Mike on this one because it'd be kind of at least to get their views on what they think the opportunities are and opportunities that they're working with. So we'll start with you, Lawrence. In any case, so do you just want to give us a kind of vision of the future of Lenderwize? What does it look like? And yeah.
So Lenderwize, once again, is in between borrowers, which are these telecom operators that I mentioned, and lenders. And today we are working with institutional lenders and accredited investors. But since on the borrower side, on the client side, we have all this traction and requests for $96 million, as I mentioned, we are supplying our working capital from our lenders and satisfying these needs. We intend to lower the entry level of the lenders. Today, once again, as I mentioned, institutional investors and accredited investors, but we intend to lower the entry level because we want to share this opportunity even with individuals, with private investors. So we will be going in the direction of smaller investments, as much as £100 a month on a recurring basis, so £1,000 a month on a recurring basis, to those individuals that want to convert their phone bill from a cost center into a profit center, or individuals that want to convert their savings account, which produces 0 interest, into something which offers a higher interest rate. So our plan is to lower the entry level and to create loyalty programs, and that's why I'm very glad that Montello is online, because he's an expert in loyalty programs, he's an expert in user experience and customer experience, and he will talk a bit about that also. And so we are developing our platform, which is fully functional, as I mentioned, for institutional investors, will be developed further. So we have an incredible opportunity. Our goal is a loan book of $100 million a month, and as we have 96 already in requests, we won't say yes to everyone, but we have not even done great sales. We haven't needed to do great sales to have such a significant traction already, because the need is so big within the telecom, and we are well known. We have great credibility. once again, with Augusto as one of our founding partners, his experience with Swisscom, he's already worked with 60% of the players in the market, and it's kind of a boys club, and we are in that boys club, and so so we have great expectations in terms of revenue size, in terms of client base, in terms of investment, and we are inventing constantly new applications and new versions of what we're doing.
Okay, perfect. And so I'm going to ask the question to Marcello and then to Mike as well. I mean, can you give us kind of, Marcello, a bit of perspective from your side around your experiences
as Lawrence
with
said,
loyalty?
one of the vision that one of the many visions that Lawrence has is really to, again, lower the entry level to our private investors and also individuals. And when we met, it was 4 years ago, I was blown away by the way in the position of Lawrence in this project. And one of the things that really interested me at that time was working in a loyalty platform, how to really make sure that the consumer has something unique, something new to retrieve from the usage of a special mobile phone or a bank statement, etc. Consumer nowadays wants everything digital, wants everything, they want to be rewarded for everything they do with their mobile operators or with the bank. And they get vouchers, they get cash back, you know exactly what you get from your bank. But this idea of receiving, if you want interest, earn money because you're using your preferred mobile operator, your preferred bank, is something quite unique. We are still very early stage, so I know that we are not there yet, but the platform that we are creating, the team is creating, is already quite stable. And the vision that Lawrence has of really creating such a low access point so that everybody can access this market is pretty unique. And I think it's got very, very strong attractions. It's quite unique. I never heard about anybody, you know, and I'm dealing with large banks and corporate and mobile telecoms. I never heard an idea such so unique and particular.
Which means,
great, thank you. And Mike, if I, sorry, go ahead. Lawrence, do you want to chip in?
Means our goal is to partner with banks and mobile operators to launch these loyalty programs with them. We are partners.
Because if you think about the telcos or the banks and have all these, I'm sure you have all the Amex and all the, you know, the Sky, the Talk, all these loyalty points. Usually they keep you spending within the network or they give you a voucher. This opportunity is very unique, and I think it will be very appealing for the banks and telco to onboard in their system, in the loyalty scheme.
Okay, great, thank you. And so Mike, if I ask you the same questions, just kind of around, what excites you about Lenderwize and what your kind of vision for the future for the business is. I mean, and it maybe it's worth giving a little bit of kind of background on you know how you've been helping the business as well, just to give a bit of color on that as well.
Highest level, the thing that got me really interested was I think Lawrence used the term niche, but and tell me if I'm wrong, Lawrence, but I think we call it a niche that's worth $64 billion market. So it's a nice niche. And the fact that there's demand there, you know, there are these companies out there that need the finance. They have the working capital gap of, you know, 40, 50 days that's not being serviced. And that there were institutional, you know, savvy institutional lenders out there that wants to come into that. So as a private individual, private investor looking at that, saying, well, there's a sizable market with quantified known demand and people that are smarter than me that want to come in and lend to that. And Lawrence and Lenderwize are the linchpin pulling that all together. That was the initial, okay, this is something interesting. And then through the conversations, as the other guys have talked about, it's where you can take that. So at the moment, you know, we're working with big institutional investors on multi-million euro type deals, but the platform and the opportunity, you could take all the way down to people wanting to invest £10, and that gets me really excited. If you can have a platform that facilitates multi-million pound investments going on at the same time, can open up to millions of users and give them a way of investing at pretty low risk the insurance versus the type of reward and the interest rates that are available, I can't see anyone else that can do that. So, and I've looked at a number of investments and companies that are claiming to offer, good returns to small investors, and there's, any myriad of apps and startups out there claiming to do that. But when you look into them, either the returns aren't that good, they haven't got the way to scale, or the risk is really high. And Lenderwize has a way of sorting all those problems. It's scalable, low risk, with an appropriate high reward. So that, it's the combination of the opportunity to generate revenue today, real revenue today, and that's happening. And then the opportunity of taking that to mass market. That's the combination of those two things I think is really unique. And that's certainly what's got me excited. And in terms of sort of where I've been helping over the last few months, looking at the payment flows, so obviously my background in payments, there's a lot of money flying backwards and forwards. And so I've just been helping Lawrence and the team look at some of the newer technologies out there and some of the newer players that we can automate and speed these payments. So using some of the new payment players out there and starting to look at things like AISP and PISP solutions, so we can really make this thing slick and fast and connect into real-time payment networks. Faster Payments in the UK as an example. You can make this, very consumer friendly, because there's no point when you get to the point of consumers, they don't want to wait multiple days for things to go through, whereas an institutional investor probably has got a bit more patience. So been helping Lawrence design that groundwork of the payment infrastructure that will appeal to both institutional investors and consumers as and when we get there.
Great, thank you very much. So there was another question that I had about the kind of plans for the future there.
I'm afraid your voice is breaking up. You're asking about our future, or what was that?
Oh yeah. So the technology infrastructure for the future.
Yeah. So a great question. We have a fantastic software. Our CTO is a fantastic software developer, and he has a team in place. And what we've developed today is already a very robust infrastructure, which allows us to connect to any switch, any client. We are switch agnostic. We can connect to any client. That's this. So there's already we are very well structured with what we're doing today. But we're not stopping at that. We are, what we have today is already bank grade. It's highly secure. We are developing a blockchain-based solution, which will add a further layer of security and protection and allow us to exploit the distributed ledger technologies, which will allow us to actually DLT is actually, and blockchain is actually a great solution as we go towards the consumer version of what we're doing, actually, because it's a very low cost and very lean infrastructure, actually, with an incredible layer of security to it, which before blockchain didn't exist, actually. So we are implementing systems which allow us to today they are fully automate the production of invoices and the payment processing that Mike was mentioning, so that we can trace everything that goes from the phone call to the invoicing of it to the payment of that invoice. Tomorrow we are breaking, thanks to blockchain, we're breaking that down to the single telephone call, to the actual digital asset itself. And so ultimately we will be monetizing the wholesale industry in such a way and sharing that with our clients. So our telecom wholesale operator clients will benefit from bigger sources of funding, cheaper sources of funding, with a very secure platform. And likewise, our lenders will benefit from that, because in the end, we're in between, as I mentioned before, the lenders and the borrowers, and the technology that we're developing is to benefit both sides of the equation. And so it's very exciting, because blockchain is truly has revolutionized and is revolutionizing the whole fintech industry. Well, not just the fintech industry, the whole world actually. And there's a lot to be developed on top of that technology.
Okay, great, thank you. I would just say to the audience that you know, feel free to send through your questions on the chat. We're happy to kind of answer them now or later on during a kind of dedicated Q&A session. I guess, Lawrence, just quickly, maybe it's worth asking kind of, you know, what you're actually looking for from the audience today. What do you
Yes, yes, thanks for the question. We decided, we decided to do this event for several reasons. First of all, I met the founder, Victor, and very smart guy, very innovative, and we like innovation first and foremost. And I want to thank Victor for giving us this opportunity, actually. We're doing something very new. And so we like talking to people that have innovative ideas, innovative thoughts. And we see the whole VC Innovations as a very, very forward-thinking organization. It's creating content and it's creating communities associated with the content, which I find a very innovative idea, and adding events to it like this. So I think the audience is a combination of fintech enthusiasts, and we like enthusiasts, but it also has a clear set of VCs, banks, and institutional investors, which are looking at the fintech world. And that's the first group of set of people we are reaching out to right now. Please, if you're interested in earning interest off this global niche market, which is still untapped, still underserved, with clients which are lacking alternatives. So they're happy to pay above market interest rates, because with $1 million that we give them, they can earn $12 to $15 million in extra deals, because our clients essentially, they need to pay the supplier before their clients pay them. It's a typical supply chain financing problem. If they can pay the supplier, they can deliver to Vodafone and BT and what have you. If they cannot pay the supplier, they lose that deal in real time to a competitor. So our clients are happy to pay above market interest rates because they're earning a lot on top of that. And they've already paid their infrastructures, they've already paid their switches, they've already paid their team, their traders, their technicians. So they are happy with paying interest rates. And so we are reaching out to institutional investors that want to use our safe technology, our safe credit vetting processes, our insurance policies, that want to enter this niche market. And I still call it niche market because it is a niche market, in the sense that a lot of the vast majority of institutional lenders and banks don't understand it, don't know it. Also because it's too small for them. I've spoken to very top level bank executives, and they've said this is fantastic, but if it's not worth at least 500 million already, it's not worth it for us. So, but now we are seeing smaller banks talking, and alternative lenders and VCs reaching out to say, hey, I can put 100 million, I can put 50 million, I can put 10 million, 1 million. It's not like we will disdain smaller amounts, because essentially our platform allows a network of investors. Because we have thousands of invoices, we can share certain clients or certain invoices with multiple investors. So we can match our investors' needs, their risk appetite, if they have preferences for certain jurisdictions, for certain destinations, for certain whatever. We have a flexible solution for our clients. And in fact, I see one question coming out here, which we'll approach in a second. But essentially, we are reaching out to the institutional investor, but we are also reaching out to brilliant fintech enthusiasts, people with new ideas, people with new energies, people with new contributions, people with new solutions, because this industry is so big that we need to expand our network of good ideas, of good thinkers, of smart suppliers, of good clients. And as we lower the entry level, we will be offering a consumer version, as I mentioned earlier. So, and that could well be within 2 to 3 to 4 months. So I'm hoping that we can attract interest from private individuals that are patient and can wait and can already register their interest in what we're doing, because that's why we're here. So there is a question. Shall I read it before you do, Steve, Chris?
So, well, I don't know. Well, shall I?
Yeah,
I'm moderating this panel. Let's go with. So should we go with what that brings us on to the profile of borrowers and lenders? I'm
Yes.
pretty sure that was
the so the profile, as I mentioned,
well,
on the lender side, today are institutional lenders, and tomorrow are private individuals. The profile on the client side are specifically and uniquely telecom wholesale operators that produce a digital asset and with an invoice associated to that, so that invoice is paid within 60 to 90 days. And therefore, we are talking about something that's very liquid. And banks like this, and alternatives lenders like this, we are not taking $1 million or 10 million and deploying it in real estate. Real estate is tangible, but real estate needs to be sold. And that could take a day, it could take 10 years. And the value of that can go up and down. In our case, we are talking about an invoice, which is cashed in, say, on 60 days or every 30 days. And that fund, if we are taking $1 million, it's cashed in at the end of the month, it's reinvested at the beginning of the next month, cashed in on day 60, reinvested, cashed in on day 90. And so it creates a compounded interest rate. Okay, so actually, it's brilliant from that point of view also.
Fine, and probably just a little bit more on the profile of the borrowers. So these are the medium size.
Yes, these are the middlemen that are sitting in between a Vodafone and a British Telecom and a terminating operator that completes that phone call. So the flow is this: if you're in London and you're calling Brazil, you're using BT. BT connects to a transit operator. That transit operator completes the phone call with a local operator in Brazil. So there's at least 3 players. So the BT, there's an invoice going between the transit operator and BT. And we're focused on these middle transit operators that are working with the tier 1s, which are very safe, very big, great payers, have credit ratings sometimes that are better than banks, or rather than some insurance companies. And they can only deliver to Vodafone or to BT if they can pay the supplier once again. So they're sitting there with a great opportunity, a great client that they're connected to, but they can deliver only if they've already paid the supplier. And that's who we're.
Okay, great. And then next question from Dan was, have you tracked the increase in international calls since the
of course, we don't
have
access to the entire. We're not connected to every switch right now, so we can say by inference. We can say by pitches that we've seen, and we can also say that we interviewed 50 clients on the onset, requested by one of our institutional lenders. So with the onset of COVID, of course, a lot of institutional, well, not just at the onset, but especially at the onset, there was, of course, tremendous concern because there was tremendous havoc in the stock markets, in the real estate world, and in oil also. So, I mean, and in trade finance also. So there was tremendous havoc. So we interviewed within 36 hours, 50 of our clients to verify. One, the questions basically were 4. Do you believe that events like this increase phone calls? And 100% answered yes. Do you believe that this will have an impact on the payment terms of your clients? 84% said no. Only 16%, or excuse me, 20, what's the difference? Yeah, 60%. 16% said there will be a slight delay. And we, by our own experience, we are seeing an increase of 35% month over month in this moment. We are seeing this growth because the actual volumes are increasing. So yes, and we've also participated in other events with telecom operators, and in fact, I even recently saw Orange is France Telecom, confirming these surges. There's a bit less in roaming costs, but roaming is a retail issue. It's not a wholesale issue. That goes on at the end customer. It doesn't have to do with the actual retail side, wholesale side, which is what we are doing. So we are seeing boom, and growth right now. And those are the clients we're funding.
Fine. Great. So there's one other question around the particular problems within the telecoms market. We touched on it earlier, but it's probably worth just kind of reiterating again, because there might have been people who
Sure. Yeah, I see there's a growing number of visitors as we continue in this discussion. So we're not boring. Obviously, we're not boring too many people. Thank you. So what's the problem that we're solving in this industry? We are solving a problem for these transit operators. So there are essentially three players in the model. There is the originator. There's the Vodafone, which is collecting all the phone calls from all its clients, let's say from the UK, and calls going to South Africa. So Vodafone collects all of its phone calls from all of its clients, and it needs to deliver those calls to make sure those calls get completed in South Africa. Vodafone doesn't have all the lines in the world, so it necessarily needs, and nor will it ever have all the lines in the world for antitrust laws. There are global antitrust rules, which means there will never be a single telecom operator in the world. So there will always exist a transit operator which gets those phone calls if they signed up and interconnected with Vodafone. They will receive those phone calls, and they need to, in turn, they won't have all the lines in the world, so they need to go to a terminating operator in South Africa, which completes those phone calls. So between each other, there are phone calls going, that your phone call is going through multiple operators, and the transit operator in the middle is selling the service to Vodafone, invoicing Vodafone, and it's buying and receiving an invoice from the terminating operator. So there's a supply chain, and in that supply chain, the cash flow gap is the problem that we are solving, because the middle guy needs to pay the delivery to the terminating operator typically on 7 days, and he has to wait for Vodafone, the originating operator, to pay him on 60 days. So I'm in the middle, and if I can pay on 7 days my supplier, he'll keep his circuits open, and I could do millions. I could do $10 million, $20 million a day just with Vodafone, just with calls to South Africa. Okay, just one route. And we're talking about the whole world, obviously. We're talking about 60,000 routes in the world. So landlines, fixed lines, all the operators in all the world. Okay, and each one has a specific price to it. Okay, so I'm in the middle. I have a great client like Vodafone. I have a great supplier with good quality. But if I can't pay him, he closes his circuits. And so I cannot deliver to Vodafone. And so that's the problem. It's purely financial. It's purely cash flow. It's purely something that we are the first to solve with a lending platform, with multiple investors that are coming into us, understanding this model, viewing the phone calls, viewing the invoices that are being produced, with total transparency, where we can guarantee proof of service, we can guarantee that it genuine trades, we can prove that it's all real, and we certify this. So our lender is satisfied by an insurance coverage, satisfied by real, genuine trades, and that means we are mitigating all the risks. We are making sure there's no fraud. We are making sure there's no fake invoices. We are making sure there are no fake phone calls. We are making sure that there's no risk mitigation in discrepancies on invoices between clients and suppliers. And this is why our insurance partners love what we're doing. We are providing a feed into our insurance partners. We are showing them how their insurance coverage is being deployed associated to the invoices. We are showing them the payments history and payment behavior of the clients, which is very good. And it's a beautiful model, and the clients like this because they need the working capital. Once again, they need it because they don't have alternatives. And if our client is selling to a BT or to Vodafone, with a click of a button, they could increase their revenues by 100% with a click of a button. Once they've connected client and supplier, once they've paid the supplier, once they've agreed on the price, on the buy price and on the sell price, it's a click of a button and the calls go through. So we are adding a funding layer to the telecom call itself. That's the fintech platform we're talking about. That's why we are associating finance to telecom. And we've invented this concept, and it's deployed and it's working.
Perfect. So we've got about 15 minutes left. So I just want to kind of open it up to the audience for further questions. I can see we've got another one that's come in. The other thing that I was going to say is that if people are interested to know more, I'm probably the point person to get in touch with about that. I'll put my email address in the text box, but it's chris@lenderwize.com. But so if you've got specific questions, or if you want to talk to Lawrence separately, please feel free to contact me. So I got another question here. Who are the regulators for this platform from a data, finance, insurance,
another
telco,
great question.
Perspective?
Telecom wholesale is between telecom operators. It's business to business, and there's no need for a license for that because it's business to business between telecom operator and telecom operator. So no need for a license on the telecom. If we were doing retail, of course, there would have to be a license. In the UK, it's OFAC, and every nation has its own regulatory body. But that's for retail. We are talking about wholesale. So there's no need for a license from a telecom perspective. From a funding point of view, we are working with institutional lenders and institutional factoring partners and institutional invoice discounters. They, of course, are regulated. There's no need for us being in between as a technical platform, in between the investor, the invoice purchaser, and the seller of that invoice. There's no need for a license. The day we choose to go towards crowd lending, if we start attracting crowd lenders, then yes, we will need a crowd lending license with the FCA. We have actually already had discussions with them. We've chosen to postpone that direction because as we've been pitching and evangelizing this great new idea for the past 2 or 3 years now, we got approached from the institutional lenders saying, hey, is it true that you can give me 10, 12% annual interest rate with a credit insured receivable? Well, guess what? I'll give you 5 million. I'll give you 10 million. And so we decided to focus on the institutional. And so no need for a license for that. No need for our own internal. Now, today, we are about to implement a payment processor. I'm not sure if I can say the name, a great French company. They might be online. And we will become an authorized representative of this company with the FCA. No need for that, but the better, the more, the better. So we will have, we will be an authorized representative of an institutional payment processor, a regulated payment processor with the FCA. So we're kind of in a lucky situation in the sense that we don't need it, but we're already ready for it.
Okay, perfect. Just seeing whether there are more questions coming through.
Okay.
Not at this point. Let me probably worth just giving
we have a great team,
about the team,
both in terms of the management and the co-founders, and in terms of the back office. I'm really happy with the team, mainly because the vast majority of the back office I've worked with in prior activities. I know them inside and out. Totally honest people, totally hard workers, and problem solvers, which is always the best kind of person. And part of this team in such a way that the costs are a combination of small fees and interest on the success of the company. Great team, great experience, distributed around the world. COVID has not impacted us because we're already a distributing structure. We're based in London with 3 people, myself, Jeff Mikichi, and Christina. We have a back office in Milan, Italy. We have a switch technician in India. We have our CTO, our brilliant CTO in Melbourne. We have a fundraiser in Silicon Valley. So we actually are spanning the globe already. The founding partners are myself, Augusto Pellegrini, who is the head of Swisscom Global Wholesale. As I mentioned, he managed over $675 million worth of trade in this wholesale, exactly the niche market I'm talking about. So he's already worked with 60% of the players. We're in the boys club, we know them. Jeff Mikichi is an international lawyer and co-founder of Innovation Warehouse. He's enjoying himself with startups, and we're proud to be one of the startups that he's invested in and he's working with on an almost daily basis. International law is fundamental in what we're doing, obviously, because we want to do things the right way. And thanks to him, we are, from a legal point of view also. And we're proud to have also Christian Kranicke, who is an expert in international trade finance. He was a business developer for some trade finance companies globally. So we have a super great team, and we also have Suzanne Sisti, who's a fintech evangelist. She's on our board. She's one of the early stage investors. And so we're covering everything that goes from fintech to insurtech to legal tech, if you can say. We've basically covered all the basic building blocks that are needed to make this grow. We are totally scalable. Our technology, which is working, is totally modular and totally scalable. We can reach 100 million loan book within 12 to 18 months with a modest increase in headcount because we've automated. We believe we have some basic rules. It's best to keep your low overhead costs very low because it's easy to burn if you have high overhead costs. The cheaper we are, the cheaper the services to our clients. And the most fundamental thing for us is to serve our clients. The happier our clients are, the happier our investors are, and the happier we are. The cheaper we are, the bigger the loan book. And that loan book, once again, intends to be 100 million a month. And we have institutional investors lined up. We have soft commitments for more than that right now. Of course, there's a difference between a soft commitment and a hard commitment. Right now, we are finalizing hard commitments for 30 million. And so we are in a very, very good position right now.
Great. I might just quickly ask Montello, it'd be good to kind of get your thoughts on why you invested into Lenderwize and what excites you about it. And
I think we lost Mike actually.
I think, Lawrence,
yeah,
I think we met 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
We met in Soho. Sorry,
Could you speak up, Marcello?
We met,
Could you speak up?
in Soho 4 or 5 years ago. And I had a brilliant meeting with Lawrence. And to be honest with you, I was blown away by the passion he had and still has, by the vision. And when he started talking to me about, when finance, telco, and the concept of this invoice market for the mobile operators, it was very, very appealing to me. The concept of investing on a lending platform that allows mobile operators to increase revenues and margin, it was a no-brainer for me. So I decided to invest in Lawrence. It was a very, I think it is a very good investment. I'm very pleased and extremely proud of what Lawrence and the team and Jeff have created so far. I'm an investor, so I'm not too much hands-on, but I keep touch with the team very often. So again, the marketplace, the live platform they created, the live clients, and the energy they're putting is fantastic. So I'm very proud of the success of the team so far.
Thank
you. Great. Thank you very much. Perfect. I guess if there are any other questions, I think we've got a few minutes left for them. If we don't have any other questions, I reckon we probably kind of call it a day there. But yeah, yeah. Thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, Marcello. Yeah, I think we covered quite a lot. Seems to be some relatively positive feedback coming through on the chat, so that's a good sign.
Great. And so in conclusion,
yeah.
I want to thank everyone, and I'm seeing that I invited some clients also and investors, and I see some of our clients are actually connected and sending compliments. So I want to thank our clients also for connecting to this. We are here to fund booming telcos. We are here to help our clients increase their revenues by up to 50%, potentially more, and to increase their margins. And we can do that because we're providing working capital. And as in any trading business, the more cash you have, the better you can trade with your clients, the better the deal, the greater the margin. And that is essentially the problem. The more we solve that problem, the more clients, the happier the clients, and the more the investors will be happy also, because we are sharing the interest rates. And so it's a win-win-win situation. So thank you, all of you, for yeah.
Excellent. And yeah, I just say you're probably now time for a virtual glass of wine or a glass of virtual wine, and maybe Lawrence can tell people offline about his Madonna story.
And thank you.
Excellent.
Everyone.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yes.